Ecoholics, this is the research process video series, and today we are going to understand the stage 4 and 5 of the research process. By doing the literature review, after that there is a very important thing that is going to be done, and which is the study design. Now, study design is a very important part of your research process. Study design is also known as research design. Now, the research design is like a blueprint of the research that is going to be done by a researcher. A blueprint is going to be the outline or the structure of your research, and which is why it becomes a very integral part of your research. Before you actually do the research, you should always plan everything, and that planning is obviously going to require this designing. Now, research designing is variety of types, but the three major types of research design are exploratory, conclusive, and experimental. When we talk about the exploratory research design, we are actually identifying a research problem which is a wide or a macro level research problem. Now, whenever I say research problem, it does not mean that there's a problem in the context of how we talk to each other, that, oh my God, I have so much of problems. That's not the problem that we are discussing. We are discussing the problem as a meaning that whatever research we are doing, the roadblock, or why we are actually doing that research at the first place, what are we trying to find out, that meaning of the research problem will be talked about every time I talk about research problem. Now, the research problem is of macro level. For example, let's say that social networking. Now, everybody knows about social networking. So let's say social networking and its impact on individuals who use various types of social media handles. Nowadays, everybody has a Facebook account, a Twitter account, and a LinkedIn account, an Instagram account, and furthermore, many such social media networking sites. Now, what is the impact of engaging with people, with entities, with businesses through such social media networking websites or such media handles will be researched about. Now, why are we talking this problem in a exploratory research design? Because exploratory means to explore. We are talking about social media, which is so dynamic. We are talking about people, individuals who are participating in these social media handles, which is also very dynamic. We are talking about networking, which takes place everywhere in every nook and corner of the society, and we're talking about the impact. And which is why when we have such dynamic variables and factors involved in the research, it usually takes the form of exploratory research design. Exploratory research design is quite flexible in the sense that you can change the parameters as and when required, or you can also identify with various parameters or factors as and when required, or as and when they seem to be a part of your research model. So that is what is exploratory research design. Then you have the conclusive research design. Now, when we talk about the conclusive research design, the conclusive research design is to test the hypothesis. after your review of literature and of course when you make those research questions and hypothesis, your research design will be the next part, which has to be created and planned by the researcher. So there's a lot of intellectual work that goes around. Here, in this type of conclusive research design, the hypothesis testing will be done by using various quantitative tools to find the correlation or the impact of one variable on the other or others. So that becomes your conclusive research design. This particular design is quite pragmatic and practical, and it's a very narrowed down type of a design. So it's not very flexible like exploratory. And then the last one that we have is experimental. Now, as the term says, it's an experiment-based research design. So obviously it would incorporate a lot of experiments, a lot of simulations that are going to be created so that you can go about your research. So that becomes your experimental research design. Now, after a research design is made, the next thing that you do is to find how your sample is going to be created or how your sample is going to be collected. To collect the samples, you would require sample design. So the next stage would be to decide what type of sample designs are available and what type of sample designs do you need in your research process. There are two types, probability and non-probability. Non-probability research designs. So when we talk about probability research designs, we have things like random sampling, which is also known as simple random sampling. Then we have also stratified sampling. Stratified sampling normally is done by a researcher when you divide your sample into groups of homogeneity or homogeneous groups, and so from those homogeneous groups you are going to randomly pick and choose the sample. And the last one in the probability sample design is cluster sampling. Cluster sampling simply is to divide the groups in a population in heterogeneous samples, and through those heterogeneous groups you are going to collect your random sample. So these are probability based sampling. Probability obviously means, like the name suggests, it's based on probability, or it's based on some randomly selection of samples, and which is why it is said to be more genuine than the non-probability sampling. However, non-probability sampling also has some very interesting methodologies, like we have the quota sampling, the convenience sampling, we also have snowball sampling, or judgmental sampling, purposive sampling. So there are a variety of ways on which your sample design can be based on. A researcher has to identify what type of variable and what type of sample is required, so that to understand which type of probability design or non-probability design would be the apt design for that research process. So this is about the fourth and the fifth stage of research process. Stay tuned to know more about the different stages of research process. Subscribe our channel and keep liking and sharing our videos. Thank you.